A player who covers his mouth while arguing with an opponent could now be shown a red card. A team that walks off the pitch to protest a referee's decision could be handed an automatic 3-0 defeat. A substituted player will have only 10 seconds to leave the field. And VAR has just been given greater authority to intervene in more situations than ever before. These are not proposals still being debated. These are new rules that have already been officially introduced for the 2026 World Cup. FIFA says the changes will make football fairer, reduce time wasting, limit controversy, and protect the image of the world's most popular sport, but not everyone agrees. Thomas Tuchel has spoken out against some of the new measures. FIFPro has expressed concerns. Many players and coaches believe these regulations are giving referees and VAR too much power over the outcome of matches. So, is FIFA solving some of the biggest problems facing modern football? Or are they creating a new wave of controversy at the biggest World Cup in history? Let's take a closer look at the story that has the entire football world debating. To understand why FIFA decided to introduce new rules just before the 2026 World Cup, we need to go back to one of the most controversial moments in European football this year. During a Champions League knockout match, Brazilian star Vinicius Jr. became involved in an altercation with Benfica youngster Gianluca Prestiani. In the middle of the confrontation, Prestiani pulled his shirt over his mouth while speaking to Vinicius. It was a familiar sight in modern football. Players often cover their mouths to prevent cameras, opponents, or spectators from reading their lips. But this time, the incident did not end there. Shortly afterward, Vinicius accused his opponent of using racist language. Prestiani strongly denied the allegation. There was no audio recording. No one could say with certainty what had actually been said. Yet the match was disrupted, and the controversy quickly spread across the football world. The incident raised a question that FIFA believed could no longer be ignored. If a player deliberately covers his mouth during a heated exchange, is that a sign that he may be trying to hide something? FIFA President Gianni Infantino made his position clear. He argued that if a player has nothing to hide, there is no reason to cover his mouth while speaking to an opponent. It was from this controversy that FIFA began developing one of the most debated rule changes of the 2026 World Cup, a rule that many believe could alter the course of a match in a matter of seconds. After months of debate, FIFA has decided to act. At the 2026 World Cup, a player who deliberately covers his mouth with his hand, jersey, or shoulder while involved in a confrontation with an opponent could receive a straight red card. According to FIFA, the purpose of the rule is to prevent racist, abusive, or insulting comments that referees and VAR officials cannot hear or verify. On paper, it sounds like a step toward protecting players and making football more respectful. But the issue is far more complicated than that. FIFA insists that simply covering one's mouth during a normal conversation will not result in punishment. The red card would apply only when the action occurs during a confrontation or heated dispute. And that is where the questions begin. What exactly qualifies as a confrontation? What separates a normal exchange from an argument? When two players are disputing a foul, does that automatically become a confrontation? When emotions are running high during a World Cup quarterfinal watched by millions around the world, will a referee really have enough evidence to make such a decision within seconds? Many experts believe FIFA is placing an enormous burden on match officials. A mistaken decision would not simply send one player off the field. It could completely change the direction of a match and potentially affect an entire World Cup campaign. Supporters of the rule argue that it will discourage inappropriate behavior and force players to be more accountable for what they say on the pitch. Critics, however, fear the opposite. They worry that a regulation created to address one specific incident could end up generating countless new controversies at the biggest football tournament on the planet. If the mouth-covering rule was inspired by the controversy involving Vinicius Jr., FIFA's second major change came from a chaotic international final. During the AFCON final between Morocco and Senegal, a controversial penalty decision sparked tensions across the pitch. Senegal's players reacted furiously. Head coach Pape Thiaw and several members of the team openly disagreed with the referee's decision. The situation reached its breaking point when Senegal's players walked off the field in protest. The match was suspended for several minutes. Tens of thousands of fans inside the stadium and millions watching around the world were left waiting. An international final was suddenly on the verge of descending into complete chaos. Eventually, the match resumed and Morocco went on to win. But for FIFA, the incident created what it viewed as a dangerous precedent. The organization does not want to see national teams using collective protests to pressure referees or disrupt World Cup matches. That is why FIFA decided to introduce much stricter regulations. Under the new rules, any player who deliberately leaves the field in protest of a referee's decision could receive a straight red card. The punishment does not stop with players. Coaches, technical staff, and other team officials who are found to have encouraged or organized such actions may also face disciplinary sanctions. From FIFA's perspective, the goal is simple: protect the integrity of the game and ensure that matches continue without intimidation or disruption. However, many critics believe these measures go much further than that, and this is only the beginning. The next rule may be the most severe of all, one that many believe could completely change how teams react during the most emotional and high-pressure moments of a World Cup match. Following the incident in the AFCON final, FIFA decided not only to target players who walk off the field in protest. The organization also introduced one of the harshest punishments ever seen at a World Cup. Under the new regulations, if a national team causes a match to be abandoned because of a collective protest or a refusal to continue playing, that team can be handed an immediate 3-0 defeat. For FIFA, the objective is clear. The rule is designed to protect the continuity of the game and prevent teams from pressuring referees by threatening to leave the field. The message is straightforward. Regardless of how strongly a team disagrees with a decision, the match must continue. However, the regulation has quickly become the subject of intense debate. Football has always been a sport driven by emotion. At the World Cup, where a single match can define the legacy of an entire generation of players, strong reactions to controversial decisions are almost inevitable. Many experts argue that the line between an emotional response and behavior considered disruptive remains unclear. During the most tense moments of a match, referees could be forced to make decisions that directly affect the result and potentially determine the fate of an entire tournament campaign. A red card alone can completely change a game, but an automatic 3-0 defeat is far more severe. It has the power to end a team's World Cup dream because of a single moment of lost control. And that is exactly why so many people are asking the same question. Is FIFA protecting the integrity of the game? Or is it placing too much power in decisions made during the most chaotic and emotional moments football can produce? Among FIFA's new changes, one rule has generated significant debate despite having nothing to do with red cards or VAR. It concerns where national teams will be based after the group stage. At previous World Cups, teams that advanced beyond the group stage were generally able to keep the same base camp throughout the tournament. This allowed players to maintain a stable routine, minimize travel, and focus entirely on football. But for the 2026 World Cup, FIFA has changed that approach. Under the new regulations, teams that reach the knockout rounds may be required to relocate according to the location of their next match. The deeper a team progresses in the tournament, the more travel it could face. That is exactly what has concerned Thomas Tuchel and the England coaching staff. In a competition that stretches across the vast territories of the United States, Canada, and Mexico, constant relocation is not simply a logistical issue. Every flight means less recovery time. Every move means adapting to a new training facility, a new hotel, and a new environment. These details may seem insignificant to fans watching from home, but at the World Cup level, where the difference between victory and defeat can come down to the smallest margin, they can have a real impact. FIFA argues that the new system will make tournament operations more efficient and easier to manage. Many coaches, however, see a different problem. While FIFA is trying to improve organization and maintain control over the tournament, national teams could find themselves dealing with new challenges away from the pitch. And when the most important matches of the tournament arrive, those extra challenges may matter more than FIFA expects. Alongside the new red card regulations, FIFA has also changed the way matches are managed on the field. The first adjustment involves substitutions. Once the substitution board is displayed, the player leaving the pitch must exit through the nearest point and complete the substitution within 10 seconds. The objective is straightforward: reduce time wasting and keep the game moving. But the bigger change involves VAR. At the 2026 World Cup, VAR has been given additional authority to review incidents that lead to a corner kick. If officials discover a foul or a handball in the build-up, VAR can overturn the corner and award possession to the defending team instead. FIFA believes this will lead to more accurate decisions and eliminate mistakes that might otherwise influence the outcome of a match. However, many teams are concerned that the game could become even more dependent on video reviews. Critics argue that football already faces constant interruptions, and expanding VAR's role could increase the number of controversial interventions. When combined with the other new regulations introduced for the tournament, the 2026 World Cup is beginning to look like the most tightly controlled edition in the history of the competition. Whether that leads to a fairer tournament or a more controversial one remains a question that only time can answer. Not everyone is on FIFA's side. FIFA Pro, the organization representing professional football players, believes many of the new changes were introduced too quickly and without enough consultation with the people who actually play the game. At the same time, coaches are being forced to adapt to a long list of new regulations just before the biggest tournament in the world. La Liga has also continued to criticize FIFA's direction. Tensions that already existed because of crowded schedules, tournament expansion, and growing physical demands on players have now become even more visible. On one side, FIFA argues that it is modernizing football. On the other, players and coaches fear that too many changes are being introduced in too short a period of time. The debate is no longer about one specific rule. It has become a much bigger question. Who should ultimately decide the future of football? Should it be the governing bodies that oversee the sport, or the players and coaches who live with the consequences of those decisions every time they step onto the pitch? FIFA believes these new changes will make football fairer. They are intended to combat racism, reduce time wasting, limit chaos, and improve the accuracy of crucial decisions. All of those goals are difficult to argue against. The controversy lies in how FIFA has chosen to pursue them. A player who covers his mouth could receive a red card. A team that protests too aggressively could be handed an automatic defeat. VAR can intervene in more situations than ever before. And national teams must adapt to an entirely new set of regulations in the middle of the world's biggest tournament. Perhaps FIFA is finally addressing problems that have existed in football for years. Or perhaps it is creating new controversies whose consequences have yet to be fully understood. The 2026 World Cup has only just begun, and so has this new era of football regulation. Over the coming weeks, the football world will discover whether these changes represent genuine progress or a risky experiment by FIFA. What do you think? Do you support these new rules, or do you believe FIFA has gone too far? Let us know in the comments below. We would love to hear your opinion.